Hey YouTubers, this old sword back with something slightly off the beaten path for me, which is a Spyderco I picked up recently. This is the Spyderco Ikuchi, Ikuchi, and this is I would call it a smallish, lightweight knife, but it is a little bit longer and larger than the diminutive weight and size might lead you to believe. So again, this is an offering from Spyderco, and it is a design by Paul Alexander. It is the fourth pocket knife he's produced in cooperation with Spyderco, according to some news I'm looking at here. And this is the CQI version, which is the new and improved version that really has been out for close to a year. So it's new and improved, but it's nothing really that new. A little background on Mr. Alexander. He has a background in mechanical engineering. He's been a fan of knives his whole life, and his designs can be recognized by the organic shapes and wavy lines in the design. So let's take a closer look at the Ikuchi. This is a back-locking mechanism. It is a compression lock. That was the name I was searching for. It's not a term I use every day, even though I've got a few Spyderco compression locks. It sports a wire clip. Some people like the wire clip, some people don't. For its purpose, if you're not going to be out there working construction with it, you should be fine. The complaint some people have about the wire pocket clip is that it flexes. It is possible to catch something in the middle there and bend the clip kind of like a paper clip. Yeah, it looks a little like a paper clip. We have some nice jimping that's sort of an internal or internalized jimping on the liners. It is, in effect, the liner lock. We have a carbon fiber bonded to G10. It's nice because it has a texture to it that is both smooth and a little grippy. It keeps it from being completely slick. There is no jimping on the top of the blade. This is not really considered to be a heavy use knife, more of a gentleman's knife, if you will, if there's still such a thing as gentlemen. I think there are. I fancy myself a gentleman. And the deployment method is a very interesting wheel. Rather than a flipper tab, we have this half wheel. The teeth on this half wheel are fairly sharp. And when I first got this knife, it was one of the few I've ever had that had such a strong detent I needed to do something about it. So basically what you do, if you're familiar with these things, and I wouldn't mess with it if you aren't, is you remove the pivot screw. It's rather short. You remove the clip screw in the back that goes all the way through to the other side. You need to take that out to remove the scale, along with this small screw and this small screw. These are T6s, and the large ones in the pivot are T8s. That much I've learned. I just basically tuned this up today. It's riding on the new phosphor bronze style washers. They could be considered bearings. You know, they do bear the blade, but they aren't your ball bearings. the way that you have caged and non-caged ball bearings in many of today's knives and flippers. A little smudge there. Try to take it off without slicing my finger. It is a very sharp knife right out of the box. I have no need to okay, so before I was interrupted here in my studio, I was going to do a quick sharpness test for you, mentioning how I didn't need to do much to this edge. It is really effortless, razor sharp. This is a, look at that little curly Q I got down there, huh? Nice. Very smooth edge, really nice grind, flat grind from the top to the edge, and we'll get some specs on it, which apparently we haven't done yet. So we've got 2.5 millimeter blade stock. Little on the thin side, but it's suitable for this knife. We have a, go to inches here, 0.43 inches handle thickness. Trusty tape measure, back out a little bit. And we've got an overall length of 7 5/8, pretty much. We've got a blade of 3 3/8, cutting edge of a little over 3 1/4. We have a weight of, very drop shutty knife, by the way, once you hit that compression lock. And we've got 2.4 ounces. Light little guy. We've got a little bit of weight relieving, fair amount of weight relieving on the liners. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little holes, including the one that goes through the handle, which is kind of an interesting thing. And those are all on the non-compression locking side of the liners. You notice it does have the traditional Spyderco hole, although it serves absolutely no purpose since it falls inside of the handle when closed. Some people have even jokingly put a little padlock through there as a safety device. I don't think it was intended, but you can lock the knife up completely that way. Let's do some quick comparisons with a few other blades. With the Benchmade Griptilian and the large grip is longer for sure overall. And if we bring the handles up even, it's got a slightly longer by maybe ½ inch blade. We got a Rat 1. And the Rat 1's certainly larger by at least 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches. The blade, however, is only maybe 3/4 inch longer. So we've got a pretty good blade to handle ratio with this knife. So the Spyderco Ikuchi by Paul Alexander. You might like it. I think you can pick them up for around 130, 140. So one of the more reasonable Spyderco knives if you aren't going to the complete budget line of the Spydercos down in the 50s and 60s. I like it. I think I'll carry it. It's certainly not a heavy knife. Don't even know it's there. And now that I've loosened up that detent by bending back, once you disassemble and you take this liner out and it's all by itself, this compression lock can be bent outward somewhat, very gently, a little at a time. I think I shifted it maybe a little less than a millimeter distance above the liner. I'm not going to disassemble it to show you that, but then again, if you know what you're doing, you know what I'm talking about. If you get one that's overly stiff and you're strafing your finger across the top of that opening mechanism, you probably are going to want to either send it back or... And I don't know how common that is. I talked with Slicey Dicey, he said that his was just perfect. And mine was very difficult, was eating up my index finger. So after making the adjustment, we're good. I'm happy. Y'all have a good one. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. There'll be more coming. See you soon.